Hello everyone, welcome to another live Voice Essentials Hangout. It is so good to be spending another Monday with you. We have got a live, in fact, he's not live. I'm trying something new today. We are going to be having a live guest who isn't live. I've done it, just actually finished doing an interview with the pop song professor, Clifford Stumme. I hope that's how I pronounce his last name. I didn't use his last name during the video, as you'll see. Clifford is from the east coast of the US, and so it was more convenient for us to do a pre-record. I'm hoping technically this goes okay, because I've never done this before. I think it should be fine, but it is so good to be hanging out with you. Before we dive into what is actually exactly 39 minutes and 33 seconds of video with Clifford, and in such a fantastic topic, you know, I go on, don't I, all the time about how important it is to communicate lyric and make sure, you know, singing is not about perfect notes, it's about communication. Well, we're going to really put some meat on the bones today and understand lyrics a little bit more. Where do they come from? What are they designed to do? What's the whole purpose of them? We're going to spend some good time talking about that today. It is a really important topic for performers, because if you want to deliver lyrics with any sense of robust authenticity, then I know you are going to enjoy today's discussion. Before we get into that, can I just remind everyone, this is the last week for you. If you are wanting to join the Voice Essentials online course, I should have said before, it is live. We are live with the online course. Very exciting. You can see it scrolling down here, down the bottom, voiceessentials.com.au. There's a link in the show notes below. This is the last week for you to get the discount. Now, I've launched it a week early. It wasn't supposed to launch until April 1st. But Jody she had got all the work done, and we thought, well, we could just sit on it for the next, few days. But we decided, well, why don't we just hit the live button and get it out to everyone? Many of you have taken advantage. Over 100 of you actually have taken advantage of the discounts. I want you to take, if you haven't already signed up, I want you to take advantage. There, you can still get 15% off the 99 Australian dollars. Notice that's not US. So I think for an American, it works out to only about $70, $72, $73. Like, it's super cheap. That would be without the discount. So if you're getting the discount, it's going to be even cheaper still. It's 10 modules of working you through Voice Essentials 1 exercise collection. Material that you cannot get anywhere else. It will always be behind the paywall there, so that you're getting full value for your money. That special, that 15% discount, is going to end on the 31st of March, Universal Time, just so it's equal for everyone. So don't waste another moment. Make sure you take advantage of that ASAP, because that discount will finish. And so in just under a week's time, you will, if you want to participate, which you can, you don't have to use the discount if you don't want to, you'll have to pay full price, which is still pretty cheap. In fact, I've had a number of people tell me it's too cheap, but hey, I really want to get the information out to you all and get you singing well, which is what we do here. Look, without further ado, I think we should get into today's discussion. If you are watching the show live, then I am going to join you. In fact, I'm already watching over here on a different screen. I'm already seeing the live discussion going on, which is going on. I always get this wrong. Going on over here. I'm going to jump over and join you in the live discussion as the pre-record video rolls for the next 40 minutes. So I'm looking forward to interacting with you. And Clifford has also said, just to let you know, Clifford is going to, not now because he's just gone to bed, but tomorrow, in the next couple of days, he is going to jump on and answer your questions in the comments section of the video. So if you do want to have a specific question, even if you're watching the show as a replay, which many of you do, ask your questions in the comments section. And in the next few days, and I know Clifford is going to be just watching out for those so he can answer them for you. But I think we should dive in and see if Daniel gets all of this new technology way of doing things right. I hope we do. And at the end of the 40 minutes, I'll come back and we'll close off. So don't go anywhere once the video finishes. I will be rejoining you again. I'll see you soon.
Sound check. Check 1, check 2.
G'day Clifford, how you doing?
Doing really well. Thanks for having me on.
It's so good to have you on the show, and I'm really looking forward to our discussion today because here on the channel at Voice Essentials, we talk so much. I'm constantly rabbiting on about, singing the narrative, really communicating the lyrics, the subtext, and I think today's discussion, I'm hoping today's discussion is going to really put some meat on the bones for people, and to have you come along and talk about this is really exciting to me. We were introduced via a mutual friend, Tim Schmoyer from Video Creators, who is someone that we've both had the great pleasure of working with and interacting with. So we probably should disclaim, we don't know each other overly well, do we, other than we've got...
Yeah, no, not other than a couple of emails and a few minutes of chatting.
Yeah, and
watching each other's videos a little bit,
watching each
perhaps.
other's videos, exactly. But already I know that we're going to have a really good time today. Tell us a bit about yourself. Where you're from and what's your gig? What do you do?
Yeah, so I am from Virginia in the United States. I got a master's in English, and I wanted to analyze song lyrics because a lot of what the career for somebody with a master's in English is either you go teach or you sell coffee or you become a professor and do a lot of research into old books and stuff. And that wasn't as exciting to me to go and look at those. And I remember one professor stopped me after class, and I was like, "Hey, I'm thinking about maybe I want to be a professor. Do you think that sounds like a good idea?" And he was like, "Cliff, sometimes the teaching is hard, sometimes the grading is thankless, but when you write a paper and you read it to a room full of scholars, that is what makes it all worth it." And I got to go to some conferences, and it'd be like a room of 5 people. And all of the things that he said were thankless were the things that I was actually excited about. And so I was like, you know what? Maybe being a professor is not really what I want to do, which is where I still ended up there. But I was like, you know what? I want to go and explain pieces of literature that lots of people actually listen to and pay attention to. I want to do something that will help more people than just 5 and some conference somewhere. So I started blogging about song lyrics. I got some attention. People started paying attention. They were interested. And then started a podcast, started a YouTube channel. And now I explain song lyrics and teach people how to write them themselves. All the while, my full-time job of teaching and working at a university.
Yeah, very cool. I've just got up your... website here, popsongprofessor.com. Yeah. I love the fact that you, I guess you're referring to the pop song lyrics as literature, which is really very cool.
Yeah. There are some that are more deserving of the title than others, but try to treat them all equally.
You're obviously a big fan of 21 Pilots. There's quite a few song lyrics that you've deconstructed there.
Yep.
Which, yep. We will have a lot of people watching today's show that join you in your love of 21 Pilots. Obviously, obviously.
Yeah, I don't know if they can see in the background that a couple posters dedicated to them too.
Oh, okay. Yep. Right. Very cool. I'm just trying to get Oh, hang on a second. Are you still with me?
Yep.
Yep, you're
Yep.
still
Still
with me.
here.
Very good. Okay, so also, I do want to direct people to your YouTube channel, the Pop Song Professor, and people can go and check that out. Obviously, everyone, I would encourage you to subscribe to this. This is I was saying to Clifford earlier, there is a treasure trove of material here. There is a reason why Clifford has you're about to crack 140,000 subscribers, which is just massive. So, I mean, that's so impressive.
It's an honor for sure.
It's and there's just so many good things here. We're going to be talking about the nuts and bolts today of lyrics and what have you. But everyone, if you want to go searching for a song, do you take requests typically,
Yeah.
Clifford?
I do. I'm actually doing kind of like a weird spin-off series right now where I explain a song, I tell people to request something in the comments and upvote it, and then I pick one of the highest upvoted ones, explain the song, and just keep marching through it.
Yeah, okay, very cool. So obviously everyone, if you subscribe and jump in and become an active participator in Clifford's community, then you can, throw your votes his way as to which song lyrics get done next. And if you're interested, Clifford has also got an online course, courses. Is it courses? Is it right to say courses?
There's a few.
There's a few. How to write original lyrics.teachery.co. So everyone, you can go and check that out also. So much good stuff there. And it is exciting to know that the world is such a big space, right? And it's so exciting, I think, to know that there are people. You've obviously run with a passion, to communicate and to talk through lyrics and to help. Look, today we're going to be helping people like myself. I am certain I'm going to learn something today in how to really unpack and decode lyrics and the subtext and because ultimately it's all about communicating. Let me throw out this. I read this on your website, Clifford, if I might, in the about section, and you make this statement. If we don't be nervous, it's okay. It's a great statement. If we demand meaning in our lyrics, artists will begin to write more meaningful and uplifting songs. Talk us through that. What are you getting at there?
Yeah, I think it's something that we've actually already begun to see. And there's a couple of bands I'll name that I think are partially to blame for this in a good way. But especially when I started out a few years ago, like everything that hit the top 40 was just, for the most part, it was inane. There was nothing going on. It was, the hooks were always great, right? But they never had anything to say. And there's still plenty of songs out there right now where there is nothing to say whatsoever. And it's really frustrating to me as somebody who likes to like intellectually interact with the media that I'm taking in. And so I was frustrated. It felt like an insult to my intelligence. But I thought about it a lot, and I was like, why don't they put more deeper meanings into their songs? Like, why don't they write about something real, share something honest, get vulnerable, be true to something, right? And the only thing that I could think of was it's got to be market demand. People aren't asking for this. People are just saying, yeah, this has a great beat, let's go with it. And so part of my mission is to help educate people to understand lyrics and to say, like, okay, yeah, I can understand this, I can understand that. So that way, when they get to a song that doesn't really have much to say, I think they're just going to get kind of intellectually bored with it and move on. And I want to kind of mobilize people who have the same passion as me and who have noticed the same thing and get them to say, like, yeah, like we actually want to go listen to artists who have something to say because the words that they put out are worth paying attention to. And if we pay more attention to those artists, all of the people who are money hungry will notice. And they'll say, all right, you know what, maybe we shouldn't just, maybe we should have something to say too. Now, you always run the risk that they're going to say something that's going to be insincere. And I haven't thought that far ahead yet, but here we are.
I think I think we did go through an era, didn't we, where certainly late 90s, early 2000, there was this era of what I would refer to as candy pop, in
Yeah.
so much as there just was no substance. And without seeking to suggest that it didn't have its place, I mean, the reason why it was being consumed, for the want of a better word, was because people were enjoying it, but it really said nothing. And
Yeah.
I wonder whether that was, and I know you'd probably have a view on this, I wonder whether that was a pendulum swing from 20 years ago, where we'd come from the Vietnam War, and those sorts of issues, where there was a lot of a lot of material was very political and very really heavy in its text, and we kind of pendulum swung. Is the pendulum swinging back again, do you think, perhaps?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So yeah, definitely the music industry goes back and forth in cycles. There's a really great book called The Hit Machine. No, sorry, it's The Song Machine, and it's by John Seabrook.
Okay.
And anybody who wants to understand how pop songs are made, like, it's a really great look into the industry from about 1990 to, I would say like 2011. It's really good stuff. I think that I'm not exactly sure yet what causes the meaningfulness of the lyrics to come and go. I think that you're probably right that, we maybe overcompensate. We say we need to have only deep, meaningful songs. And a lot of times those deep, meaningful song periods correspond with times where like bands are more popular. And then when we get into a time where maybe like rap artists, or not all rap artists too, I should clarify. I think the rap artists, yeah, I'll circle back around to that because I got to be careful.
Mm-hmm.
But when we come back to where like a single singer becomes more popular, or like a more pop based sound, something that's a little bit less rock and roll, or alternative, then we go back to a little bit less meaningfulness. So like in the 90s, it was all boy bands and girl bands, which were basically just propped up 16-year-olds given songs, music, and dance steps and said, all right, go do this. But then in the early 2000s, when the MacBooks started getting really popular, the laptops and everything, and we had GarageBand on our computers, all of a sudden anybody could say something. And I don't think that they were as motivated by money. So I think it felt more natural to just write the story that was unique to them. And I'm not completely sure why we're kind of going away from that at this point. Well, actually, I think we went away from it in the late 20-aughts, but I think we're kind of going back to it now because I think a lot of people are noticing how bands like 21 Pilots or Mumford and Sons have been really successful while having something to say.
I just thinking through what you've just said, I wonder how much, a really interesting point about the bands, at times when bands are really prominent, there seems to be this really strong or depth of meaning in lyrics. Is that because, and again, this is a generalization, and we're going to be doing a lot of generalizing today.
It's a fun place to be.
It's a fun place to be. I wonder whether some of the I'm struggling to sort of say what I'm thinking. Is it because bands typically write their own material, whereas individual singers, soloists, are more open, or labels certainly are more open to getting songs written for them, so they go out to publishing houses, bring in songs that are possibly more generic, which allow the singer to attach their voice and their story, I guess, to the material. Do you think that's something that's going on there?
I think you're 100% right. I think that typically in a band-based era, the bands have more creative control. When it comes to just a single artist, there's only so much one person can do. Essentially, a lot of artists like Ariana Grande, Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift does a lot of her own writing, and Ed Sheeran's a good example of a single singer-songwriter who does a lot of songwriting. But you look at people like Rihanna or Ariana Grande, or The Weeknd, people like that. Like Ariana Grande's Thank You Next album was put together in 2 weeks with a bunch of people who came out to New York, and they just wrote songs together for 2 weeks. And that doesn't mean that these stories are invalid, that there's nothing to say.
No.
But I think you're 100% right. A band is able to like put together things more themselves. It's more of a natural process. All their songwriters are there, and it's a little bit more sincere, perhaps. Whereas, yeah, if you're a record label trying to make a lot of money off of a singer, then you've got to maximize their potential. And the potential that a singer brings is notice. Essentially, they're a marketing tool. And so it doesn't make any difference to a record label whether they bring in somebody to create the lyrics, create the music, because all they need from the singer is the voice and then to go on tour. Not that the record labels make as much money from the tours, but
And it is important that we acknowledge, partly so we don't get too many, trolling comments in the video later, that we're certainly not by any means suggesting that there is a lack of skill on behalf of someone like Ariana Grande. In fact, it takes a lot of skill to communicate a lyric that you yourself have not, written, to take it, make it your own, and to deliver it and to communicate it. And we'll talk more about this point a little bit later, because it's such an important point for my audience here at Voice Essentials. Let's talk then a little bit more about the value of the meaningful lyric. What is the inherent value in your opinion of having lyrics that aren't just all happy but candy pop, that actually have something to say?
Yeah, I typically narrow it down to 3 different values. Number 1, it can be personal. The value of self-expression, being able to talk through things that you've experienced, to be able to tell your story, is an incredibly valuable experience for anybody who tries writing their own song lyrics. Second, it can help other people. So you see it with bands like, great, all my examples are going to be 21 Pilots. Sorry about that. Just that's usually where my head's at. Well, no, I've got to be able to come up with, we'll say AJR. So AJR, a lot of their songs, actually there may be more their self-expression. Okay, we'll go back to 21 Pilots. 21 Pilots does a lot of songs that are like directed at their audience, and they're meant to help their audience understand something. So like their song Guns for Hands is basically like, hey guys, you're thinking about suicide, let me talk you through that. Let me give you an alternative. It's to like, sing this song with me right now. Let's just think about this. So the second benefit is helping other people. The third benefit is a little bit more philosophical, and I think it's just the reward or the act of creating something beautiful and something personal and something true, something honest. I think just creating something like that is its own good. I think being able to say, yes, I created something that was honest, is something that not a lot of people can say, but I think it's really worthwhile. And that could be a vocal performance too. If you can say like, hey, I felt these lyrics, I wasn't just kind of running over these, doing kind of a terrible job because I didn't care, something like that. And it'll be difficult for me to speak to the singing side of things because that is not my strength whatsoever. But I think that honesty can come in at any process of the composition, or any part of the composition process, whether it's the lyrics or the voice.
Does that then, when we really start to talk about lyrics that have meaning, we are talking about the power of words, aren't we? And I guess it really does then place upon us as either the writer of those words or the communicator of those words, and we're talking about the power of both of those coming together, where there is a singer-songwriter synergy that seems to happen. It really places a lot of responsibility upon the performer, does it not? Because obviously you can use that power for good. Equally, you can use that power for ill. Are you aware or cognizant of any areas where that might be the case, where it could be used I guess it's subjective, isn't it?
Yeah. Whether it could be used for good or for evil or ill. Um, yeah, that's a really good question.
While you're
I
thinking
think,
about, oh, sorry, go.
oh, I think that I think I, pr- I'm going to probably answer your question about 75% of the way.
I think that's going to be a pretty good attempt because it's such a hard thing to grapple with, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I feel like I need to go write a blog post about this,
I look
or
forward to it.
like spend a lot of time researching it or something. Um, yeah, I would say I'll probably keep this pretty subjective. There's definitely a difference between a cover that is done to impress people or to capitalize on the popularity of a song. And then there's that difference between a cover that is done because somebody understands the emotion and the meaning behind the lyrics. So many people just put out like a cheap, quick cover of whatever song is popular at the moment, and sometimes they pull it off really well and in magical ways beyond my oral comprehension, but it can still come off as just trying to write a trend. And you're like, hey, this song means something and it means something to a lot of people, and you're just trying to jump in here, gather all their emotional energy and push it towards your iTunes account or your subscriber list or something like that. And so that can be a little bit frustrating if it feels like they don't understand what they're saying. But somebody who like really understands a song and can, I think maybe the difference between a cover like that and a cover that really stands out is when somebody can sing a song and it feels like they're adding their own meaning to it. Like they're part of the creative process with their voice. It's
Yeah.
not just them going up there and repeating things back like a parrot. It's like, no, this means something to this person. And I think that's powerful.
Yeah, I think that reiterates in part what we said earlier about singers like Ariana Grande, who is able to make material that has been written for her, not necessarily by her, to then communicate that in a really powerful way.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Hugely talented, yeah.
yeah, there's been some interesting research just released. I think it's from I want to say the ANU, the Australian National University in Canberra. But that being said, it might have been Melbourne University. It could be neither. It's an Australian university that has just released the findings. Really interesting research into, does death metal music predispose people or cause people and direct them towards things like suicide and violence and those. It wasn't suicide, my apologies. I think it was just purely, does it cause them towards violent behaviour? Interestingly, the research suggested that it does not, because the music is coming from a different place in the brain, and it doesn't cause violent behaviour. And that was also taking into account the lyrics and those things that are being directed there. So it is such a subjective space, isn't it? This whole discussion. I just want to go to another, because you were kind enough to send me a few things we could talk about today, and I want to go to another point, which kind of talks to the candy pop thing. But I want to sort of direct it to today, because candy pop, I think of candy pop as being late 90s, early 2000s, and here we are, it's nearly 2020. Is modern music in general, and this is probably more than just a discussion of lyrics, though, we're talking mostly about lyrics today, is modern music getting dumber, do you think, or is it getting smarter, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So there's been a couple of studies done, nothing super conclusive. They tend to find that the syllable count per word or the vocabulary size has been going down, or like the amount of repetition in a song tends to go up. And repetition is not inherently evil by any means. but it can often be it's a lyrical device that's often abused, similarly to rhyme for that matter. So more repetition, uh, less vocabulary. Those are, variables or metrics. I don't think that they necessarily speak to the heart of whether music is becoming dumber. That would be such a huge question to answer, but it's just there's pockets. I would say the top 40, especially with mumble rap and a lot of the stuff that's been coming out of the hip hop community recently. So much good stuff from hip hop. Like hip hop has done so much for music, but there is this current fad or trend with a lot of trap music and stuff. 100% dumber. There's a lot fewer brain cells involved in what's going on the top 40 currently. But we still get a good one every once in a while, and I don't think that it's necessarily a completely downward trend. I think it's just kind of up and down.
I wonder, is diversity, is it possibly a better position to take, that diversity is a wonderful thing in so much as you don't, like, my wife, will put on, there's a particular artist, I can't think of her name, and I can only do 2 or 3 of her songs. I think she's fantastic, but if I go any more than 2 or 3 songs, it's just too deep. I'm just like,
Oh, yeah.
I can't do this anymore. This is, and so I do want to sort of flick across to something that it is lighter, that is, so is actually a healthy ecosystem when it comes to lyric, something that is far more diverse.
I 100% agree with that. I like to think of the amount of depth you should have in lyrics based on a calendar of the week. Friday night is when you go out partying, right? And so I need a Friday night's worth of music, maybe a Saturday night's worth of music too, if I'm feeling especially rambunctious. And then, I need some introspective music on Sunday. I need some music to get me through the week, Monday through Friday, but I also need music to remind me what's important. And everybody has their existential crises. I think probably, Monday at 8 a.m. is the time for those. So I need a 8 a.m. on Monday's worth of existential crisis music. That would about sum it up. You got to have a little bit of everything. But I think that it's going to tend, at least for me personally, like if there's not something to think about in a song, I'll get bored. But yeah, if everything I was listening to was like, some sort of ode to a dead friend, and then now that we're going to talk about depression, and now we're going to talk about why the world's messed up. Okay, give me a break. I need some Cascada, and I need to sing about jumping on the dance floor a couple of times before I dive back in.
Yeah. Well, I guess we all need a break, and that is something I think that is important, even for those of us who are watching who are songwriters. Is I guess we do. Whilst we have to be true to ourselves in our songwriting expression, I guess you kind of got to make sure that you cater to the whole human, don't you, that you're delivering lyrics to. We've got about 10 minutes. Can you believe we've already been going for nearly half an hour? I do want to sort of spend the last bit of our time together today talking about how can a singer, and directing the conversation to a singer, how do you feel that a singer can, let's say they're not a songwriter, and let's say that they are taking on they've been mentioned throughout today, a 21 Pilots tune. How do you talk us through some strategies, if you like, of how we might approach a song sheet, a lyric sheet for the first time? What do we go looking for? How do we deep dive into the subtext, and so that we can then, step up and perform those lyrics?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I would say there's a couple of things that I particularly like to do. First off, I cheat and I use Google. So I'll go research it and see what the original intention was. There have been lines where if I didn't go look it up, I wouldn't have known because it's a homonym or a synonym or something. and I wouldn't have known what the word meant. So that's good for catching little things like that. But I think the most helpful thing to me to understand a song and to then be able to properly express the meaning and explain it to other people is I print it out. And so I'll have it like as a hard copy on paper, and I'll get a pen and I'll go and circle things and make little notes. And I like to, I mean, a lot of my metaphors come back to the writing process because I teach a lot of English classes. Um, but there's usually two parts to the writing process. There's the research or the gathering information, and there's the creation of it. And a lot of writers, and I'm guessing perhaps a lot of singers, at least some of those bad covers I've heard, there's a lot of expression, a lot of writing, a lot of communication, but there's not a lot of research. And so if you can go back and take a look at the lyrics, you research it externally, but then you also research it internally, and you ask yourself, what does this line make me think of? How do I interact with this line? What's my personal true expression here? Journaling, I don't know. I feel like I recommend journaling to solve every problem. But if somebody really wants to understand a song, not just what it means to the artist, but like what it means to them, spending some time just journaling, either in the margins or on a separate sheet of paper, really good ways to do it. Yeah, I would say those would be my top 3 tips.
When you're Googling, are there particular sites besides your own? Are there particular sites that you find yourself, going to for research?
Yeah, typically 3 of them. Wikipedia, for sure. Sometimes, especially if it's an older big hit, like I can learn a lot there. But I can also learn a lot about the artist. And that's actually a 4th tip I would give is if you want to understand one song by an artist and you really want to understand it, you got to listen to their other stuff. You got to listen to the rest of the album. You got to listen to the stuff that came before on that album. Exactly. I don't think you really can understand the pain on the songs on some albums or the emotion or the strength of it unless you've heard these stories told before and wow, there's no solution. It's the 4th album. He hasn't figured this out. And I think that really helps to like inform my perception of a lot of bands and songs. But Wikipedia is a good one just to get a context. Genius.com is a good place to go, especially if there's like a lot of slang or something that is, translated from another language or something. They're really good about catching like vocabulary and words and stuff. And then songfacts.com has never steered me wrong. Genius.com and Wikipedia can sometimes be a little bit unreliable, but songfacts.com has been super, super good to me.
I must admit, I don't think we've ever had anyone on the show recommend Wikipedia as a go-to place.
Yeah, and here's somebody who claims to be a professor suggesting it.
Yeah, well, you know your stuff. So, but what was the last one that you said?
Songfacts.com.
Songfacts.com. So everyone, go and check out songfacts.com. Just the word that sort of jumped out earlier, and I said it, but it was actually in relation to what you were saying, was context. It's something that I think I'm about to sound really old, everyone. Please excuse me for a moment for sort of expressing my age, but I do come from that era where we would wait for an album to come out. We would buy the album, and then when the album came out, you would sit and listen to the album, not, it wasn't Spotify where you put a song on and then it jumped to a completely different artist in a completely different time, and more often than not, you did have the benefit, I think, of that era was in that style of listening was context, because really an album is an artist's construction of that moment in time. Being it could be months, it could be years, where they are writing and expressing a period of time in their life. I think a good example of this is in modern context is Adele, where she writes, 21, was it 18, 21? Anyway, am I right on that? I think I'm gone blank.
I think, I should know more Adele than I do.
But anywho, the point being is that she is writing these albums that are designed to be listened in total. as opposed to having these singular songs, which we do know. We know hello, and we know hello. I don't know why it came out like that. Hello, hello, and these songs. But equally, if you really want to hear the song in context, you kind of got to go and listen to the whole album, which is exactly what you've just said. Do you think that's playing into the fact that we, the Spotify generation, we no longer, I would wear tapes out in a day, just listening to it on repeat, and you would really travel the journey.
I feel like that kind of goes back to what you asked about earlier, like our songs getting dumber or less meaningful. And I think that listening to an album requires higher cognitive functions like analysis and connection, comparison and contrast. And those are higher level cognitive functions, whereas you don't really have to engage as many of those when you just listen to a song. And so it's much easier for these popular songs to get away with just saying like, just feel the beat, man. This is because songs become an hors d'oeuvre rather than a main course, rather than part of a main course. They're separated from it. And so they have to tell the whole story themselves in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. And sometimes the stories that they pick or choose to give in those 3.5 minutes are just don't have much to say, partially because they don't have the time.
Well, there is only so much you can say in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Especially when portions of those 3 minutes are on repeat because they're singing the chorus again and again and again.
And you gotta make room for the drop and the instrumental, and then the rap artist that has got to come on and do his feature.
Yeah. That's so true.
He's gonna go rap about something completely irrelevant and negate like 3 of the things that you said. That's my favorite. When somebody comes on and either the rap artist goes on and on about how great they are, and you're like, this was a love song, or like this was a song about my father who died, and like they're talking like I'm the greatest and everything, or they come on and they say like I hate fathers. It's like, no, this was about my dad. What? Like, you didn't even listen to the song, did you?
Before they stepped into the studio. I've enjoyed our discussion today. I wonder, we do need to finish up because of course we're doing this little bit in pre-record, and the actual video, this sounds weird to say, will actually go live in about 10 minutes. I wonder whether you can wrap this all up into a neat little bow for us today, what we've talked about and lyrics, and what would you be encouraging, in many respects, my audience, singers and performers of lyrics are at the other end of the creation cycle. We're delivering the lyric. What would your heartfelt intent be for those of us who are having to do it at that end?
First off, when you started asking your question, you asked, I wonder if you can wrap this all up, and my mind immediately, this goes to show how I'm probably listening to answer rather than listening to listen, but I was like, you want me to wrap all of this? Like, I don't think I can do that.
But there's no expectations for you to rap. There's
a
a W in front of that R.
Very good. That makes me feel so much better.
Very good.
If I was gonna wrap it all up for you guys, let's see. I would say a big takeaway is that I hope that singers will listen to songs and they'll experience them for themselves before they try to share them with others. I think when they have a clear idea, not only of what it means to the person who wrote the song, but of what it means to the artist, I think that will be evident in the performance. So I would say that, and then I would say it's worthwhile to try writing your own song lyrics and understanding that process. It's not like if you're strictly a performer, it's not like you have to go out and start releasing singles or whatever. But I think understanding that aspect of the process and being involved with that part of the creation process will teach you a lot about the vocal creation part.
Yeah, great.
That's what I got.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time today. And I know it's late in your part of the world. Whereabouts are you again? Remind us.
Over in Virginia, on the East Coast of the United States.
The East Coast. See, for a poor geographically challenged Aussie, that was good to know. So thank you very much. I know it's late. I've really appreciated your time. And it really has been such a really positive chat to sort of understand a little bit more, put a little bit more meat on the bone around lyrics and understanding them, and because at the end of the day we have to stand on stages as singers and deliver those lyrics, and so I really appreciate you coming on today, and perhaps we'll be able to do it again in the future.
Yep, appreciate it. This was really fun.
Cool. I had turned my mic off. There you go. Wasn't that that was, can I just say, that was a really weird way to do the live hangout. Maybe we'll get a chance to do that again in the future. I hope you've enjoyed that chat that we had with Clifford. Such a nice guy, really knows his stuff. I really encourage you to go over and have a look at both of his channel. Make sure you subscribe. Check out his website. There's just so much really positive stuff. And even if you don't find songs that you particularly want to sing, you may well get a lot of value out of looking at 2 or 3 of the ways in which he has deconstructed lyrics, which then will empower you, give you some insight into how to go about doing the same thing for the song that you do want to sing, or that you want to write, and that you can go about developing that. I've really enjoyed hanging out with you in the live chat. It's been a lot of fun, and it really empowers me to perhaps... have you noticed that we've only ever had one person from the European side of the world on, Chris Johnson. He came on, but that was because he was in America when we did the live hangout. I wonder whether we've just stumbled upon a way that we can start interviewing some friends of mine and some experts from the UK and from Europe. I think that might end up being the case. If you've enjoyed today's live hangout, please hit the thumbs up button. Let me know that you have enjoyed the way this has sort of gone. I know that given that it was a pre-record, we couldn't bring up your live stuff on the screen, but I really enjoyed being able to participate with you in the live chat. I hope you enjoyed that as well. If you've been watching it as the whole thing as a replay, then I hope you enjoyed it too. Hey, don't forget, you only have until March 31 to get your 15% discount. The discounts end March 31 for the Voice Essentials. Here it comes. Whoops, this way. Enroll today, voiceessentials.com.au. There is a direct link in the show notes below. Make sure you go and check it out. If you've already enrolled, it is live, everyone. You can go and engage in the online course right now, so make sure you do that. I very much look forward to seeing you again really soon. Next week, I've got a hot topic for you. We are going to be talking about... well, I'm going to keep it a secret. Come back next week, 2 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. I'm very much looking forward to spending the time with you again. And as we do every Monday at 2 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. I look forward to seeing you then. I'm Dr. Dan. Sing well.